Thank you for viewing this recorded presentation. The purpose of this session is to introduce the new SFU Chart of Accounts going live July 2016. Let's begin with the content of this session. It may be a good idea to view this presentation with others in your department to encourage discussion on the presentation. So we're going to go through the introduction. Why do we need a new chart of accounts? What is the future structure of the new chart of accounts? How will we implement a new chart of accounts? How will we sustain the new chart of accounts? How will you be involved in the change? And we'll look at some discussion topics to consider. The goal of the finance program is to successfully implement a number of SFU finance strategic initiatives that will improve service to the community. We will do this through clearer, simplified financial processes, streamlined business processes, and the automation of workflow for many of our existing manual processes. Redesigning our chart of accounts is the first foundational initiative in the program. The finance program will take approximately 18 to 24 months to complete. Multiple projects in the program are stops on our journey to improve service and are represented by the colored dots in this image. Our first stop is changing our chart of accounts, and we are doing this while we upgrade our financial systems to a new version of the software. This newer version has new functionality that SFU will want to take advantage of in future steps. We will also improve some processes and clarify how data is managed within FINS. The next stop is to replace the current budget system with Oracle's Hyperion planning tool and adjust our budget and forecasting processes to align with Hyperion's functionality. This project started February 22, 2016 and will be implemented for the next annual budget cycle. Other stops include implementing additional PeopleSoft financial modules and implementing electronic workflow to automate processes such as expense claims, purchase requisitions. The program will also include a project to implement an improved financial reporting tool to replace FAST. This presentation will focus on first stop chart of accounts. Let's look at our objectives. You are aware of why the chart of accounts is changing. You understand the new chart of accounts structure and are aware of the new values contained in the structure. You understand at a high level how the new chart of accounts will be implemented and how you will be supported through the change. To ensure that everyone has the same understanding of chart of accounts, and we use an abbreviation in future slides, I'd like to introduce what a chart of accounts is and why we have one. A chart of accounts organizes financial transactions into categories that segregates costs and revenues within our various departments. Think of them as buckets to hold the various types of financial information. For example, all of our financial reports reflect how our chart of accounts is structured. A well-designed chart of accounts not only meets the information needs of management, but it also helps us comply with financial reporting standards and regulatory requirements. So why does SFU need a new chart of accounts? Well, the current chart of accounts was created 25 years ago, and it wasn't designed to work with the modern enterprise systems that we have now. As values were added over time, the chart of accounts became bloated and is no longer logically or consistently structured. Many of the current chart of accounts values are tracking too much detail, making it difficult for the university to summarize the information and assess its overall financial health. So what do we mean by when we talk about the chart fields? PeopleSoft defines each field within a chart of accounts structure as a chart field. Each chart field is designed to record, report, and analyze a category of data. For example, departments and funds are both chart fields. Each chart field focuses on one category, but captures many values. For example, the chart field for departments contains values for every individual department code at SFU. Let's review our current chart field structure and compare that to the new structure that we will be implementing in July 2016. Let's look at the current chart field structure at SFU. These are the chart fields that SFU uses: Fund, Department, Project Grant, Account, User 1, and User 2. For Fund, it is a high-level grouping of activity based on funding source, level of restriction, or business categories, such as operating fund, research fund, or capital fund. Departments are grouped by organizational unit, cost center, or segregated for other reasons such as timesheet entry. Project Grant are groupings of activity based on a specific award, endowment, or a goal. These are currently not allowed in Fund 11. Account identifies the type of transactions, such as revenues, salaries, or non-salary expenses. And User 1 and User 2 are optional user-defined fields for other reporting purposes. Now let's take a look at the new chart field structure that will be implemented in July. We have the primary chart fields: Object, Fund, Department, and Program. Let's take a look at what's changing. For the object code, this is basically the account code, but we're relabeling as object code. We're rationalizing and consolidating the number of object values. For Fund, we're merging Funds 11 and 12, and we're also merging endowment revenues and expense funds together. For Department, we're reducing the length of the code to 4 characters, and we're redefining departments as a true organizational unit. And Program is a new chart field, and this will represent the services that a department can deliver. We will also be utilizing the project costing module in FINS to take advantage of additional attributes and reporting features, such as start and end dates for projects, identification of project team members, and other functionality. To this end, we will be using these additional fields: the PC unit, which is a way of grouping similar projects for specific processing; project ID, which will be the same as the current project grant that is in the current system; activity ID, a project specific chart field that can allow for further grouping of transactions. To give you a better idea of how this translates, let's take a look at a couple of examples. First, let's take a look at an operating department. What we see here in the current model is Fund 11, Department 17123, Account 6616, which translates to General Operating Fund, Science Stores, and in this case, Specific Equipment Number 1. In the new chart of accounts, this will now look like object code 6140, Fund 11, Department 4465, Program 44100, which translates to Equipment Purchase, General Operating Fund, Department Science Stores, and the Science General Program. Now here's an example of a project coding for those of you who may code to projects. In this current example, we see Fund 21, Department 16101, Projects 210189, Account 6312, and User 1 of 161OUTD, which translates to Specific Purpose Funds, Applied Science Special Projects, Applied Science Development Fund, Materials and Supplies Expense, and FAS Outreach Program Development. In the new chart of accounts, this will translate to object code 6100, Fund 21, Department 2020, Program 90014, PC unit PC20 and project ID 210189, which basically is material supplies expense, specific purpose, applied science admin, curriculum development, external non-research projects, applied science development fund. A critical step is the validation of converted data, how we change the history of old chart fields to new ones. This process begins with taking a copy of FINS data using the old structure and values. Step 2, the project runs a series of conversions to show the FINS data using new structures and values. There will be a series of these to test the translation of old to new. The fourth step is each department validating that their old data has been converted to the new structure and values correctly. Departments will receive Excel spreadsheets to check and confirm that their data has been converted correctly. And when we go live, the project will deliver an online system where you can easily look up both old and new values. Changing our chart of account structure has some implications, and we want to be transparent about. Moving to this structure means change. It also means that we need to look at this change from the perspective of what's best for SFU rather than for us as individuals or for our departments. This is why we have been holding intense consultations with faculty and support areas in an attempt to balance everyone's needs. There are 5 implications that we want to be open about. First of all, aliases will be introduced. Aliases are shortcuts for coding and entering chart fields, which means that you won't have to remember 20 plus digits in terms of chart field codes. User 1 and User 2 will be discontinued. Current use of these values is inconsistent across departments. Some of these values may be converted into programs or projects. Others will be tracked via reporting tools separate from the chart of accounts. FAST reporting will change. In July, FAST will reflect the new chart of accounts. There will also be additional reports and queries that will be made available in FINS and HAP to supplement FAST. Plans are currently underway to retire FAST and implement a new reporting tool. 4. History will be converted. Within FINS, historical transactions will be converted for the past 5 years. And finally, third-party system impacts. Many of the systems will be updated to align to the new chart of accounts. Once the new chart of account goes live, we will need a stabilization period. We anticipate that we will restrict changes for a 4 to 6 month period in order to complete the 2016-17 budget cycle using the new chart of accounts. We will also need to develop a stringent process to ensure that we don't repeat our past by allowing new departments, programs, funds, and objects to be added and bloating our chart of accounts. So how will you be involved in this chart of accounts redesign? During the chart of accounts design, we will be holding multiple workshops, holding it with all finance and administration areas of the university to get input. During validation, representatives from each area will check and confirm their chart of accounts are correct. We will be holding readiness workshops, sessions within your area where you will plan for the changes that will impact you. Training will focus on using the new chart of accounts in FINS 9.2 and viewing reports. And support services. Support will include a number to call for help and an online tool to look up old and new chart fields. As this presentation is coming to a conclusion, you may want to consider or discuss within your department about the change. Here are 4 topics. 5 things that the project needs to discuss with us. Top 3 to 5 topics our area needs to discuss internally. How will the new chart of accounts help or hinder us? And I support this change because. Thank you very much for viewing this presentation. Should you have questions, we will be hosting a series of conference calls and drop-in question and answer session on each of the campuses. The dates and times of these will be posted on the Finance Program website under Upcoming Events. The Finance Program website is accessed from the Finance Department website. Finally, we want to hear your feedback about this presentation, so we will be sending out an email with a link to an online survey that should take less than 5 minutes to complete. Please take the time to respond. Thank you.